Welcome to Louisiana and Beyond. Today, we're taking you behind the scenes of some of the biggest projects shaping our coast, from the Morganza to the Gulf levee system to local shipbuilding innovations.
And we're going to hear from Gordy Dove, Tony Alford, Angela Hidalgo, Nic Matherne, Dwayne Bourgeois, Mitch Marmande, and Ben Bollinger of Bollinger Shipyards, folks who are turning vision into reality for communities and industries across South Louisiana.
From resilience and engineering to Cajun ingenuity and family work ethic, it's all about how our people are protecting, building, and sustaining the Louisiana we love.
Louisiana and Beyond is brought to you in part by Edison Schwest Offshore, Bollinger Shipyards, Crosby Tugs LLC, Grand Isle Shipyard, Nichols State University, and Sea Level Construction.
Welcome to Bollinger Shipyards. For nearly a century, our family of skilled shipbuilders has driven innovation and excellence, creating some of the world's most advanced vessels. Today, we are at the forefront of our industry and redefining the future of naval warfare. At Bollinger, we turn challenges into opportunities and careers into legacies. Here, you're part of something bigger. Any yard can build a ship. We don't just build ships. Together, we're building the future.
Sea Level Construction is a heavy civil contractor that provides turnkey services for the industrial and marine industries. From building large-scale infrastructure to installing the foundation for expansion projects, Sea Level and its family of companies offer a wide range of capabilities including driven piles, drill deep foundations, structural fabrication, structural concrete, marine construction, barge maintenance and repair, site work development, heavy equipment repair services, and electrical services. Call Sea Level Construction to set the foundations for your next big project.
Edison Schwest Offshore is more than a fleet. We're an interconnected network of vessels, logistics hubs, and a fast-growing workforce of over 19,000 dedicated professionals across the globe. From the United States to Brazil and the Middle East to Southeast Asia, Schwest provides cutting-edge solutions to a worldwide community. And in the face of evolving demands across the industry, we are committed to operating as the best in the world.
When it comes to marine towing, Crosby Tugs has over 40 years of experience. We have the know-how to safely assist ships into and out of their berths, escort oil tankers quickly and safely, tow ships, respond to fuel spills, and work in extreme conditions. Founded in 1977 by Vinton and Kurt Crosby, we are one of the largest privately owned marine transportation businesses in the industry. If it's on the water, let Crosby be your transporter.
At GIS, putting people first has always been our thing. As we always say, our people are our most important assets. With over 20 office locations, we deliver innovative solutions across 4 key markets: energy, industrial, infrastructure, and power. Our 4 main service groups house over 20 service capabilities, supporting projects from start to finish. We're proud of our legacy and even more excited about what's ahead.
Today, we dive into one of South Louisiana's biggest engineering feats, the Morganza to the Gulf levee system. From Terrebonne Parish all the way into Lafourche, this massive 90-mile project has transformed our coast.
Yeah, Martin, we're going to hear from the people who made it happen. Gordy Dove, Tony Alford, Angela Hidalgo, Nic Matherne, Dwayne Bourgeois, and Mitch Marmande on what it took to plan, design, and start building a system that protects communities and reshapes our marshes.
From raising levees after Katrina to modernizing flood protection, it's a story of vision, persistence, and a lot of hard work. The heart of Louisiana ingenuity.
Tony and together with the board, we started Morganza to the Gulf, which is a 78-mile levee system in Terrebonne Parish. It goes into Lafourche. It's about a 90-mile levee system. And right now the levee, of course, we went from nothing to almost a -3 in the marshes to a plus 12.5, and now they have 52 miles of it at a plus 15, either raised to 15 or that's under construction. When Ida hit, it hit Fouchon direct, and of course it threw a 16-foot wall of water on South Lafourche levee, which luckily they were at 18 feet. They did a wonderful job in South Lafourche. And then Tony, Alford, myself, and others saw immediately we needed to, go with higher levees. So immediately we started lifting the levees to 15 feet.
I knew we had to do something. I didn't realize, how far we would get. We were gonna die trying, right? Today you go up to D.C., the 3 top projects in the country, one of them's Morganza, in the whole country, and it was tough to begin with, but a few of the ideas were, well, let's just go dredge and throw dirt up there. Well, we had tax dollars involved, and we knew we wanted those tax dollars to go towards a match, our federal match, should it ever come.
So, it was kind of embarrassing to be collecting ad valorem taxes from taxpayers and having people flood time and time again, So we had a pot of money in the bank. We were, like you said, waiting on permits for some things, and we were working with the Corps through our delivery team meetings and all these things to get Morganza, built and constructed. And you can't build it all at once. You have to build it in sections, which we call reaches. So Reach J, segment 1, was the first segment, right? J1. So we built that one first, and we built it in 2006, and that was right after Katrina in New Orleans.
More recently, after the post-authorization change report for the Morganza to the Gulf project came out, and then was newly authorized in 2014 under President Obama at the time, that larger regional levee project comes into our jurisdiction in Pointe-aux-Chenes and starts with Reach K, crosses Grand Bayou, and then with Reach L, connects into our system. From the northeastern corner of our system, we then cross the intracoastal with a floodgate that then connects to the North Lafourche levee system, north of the intracoastal. And so our jurisdiction falls right in the middle of the old Morganza project and that new eastern expansion that goes up around Gaines, north towards Raceland, and hopefully eventually tying into the upper Barataria risk reduction that then heads towards New Orleans.
Morganza as a project started way back when, and in 2014 they completed what they call the post-authorization change report, right? So we had authorization, we had calculations on the cost of the project, but as a result of Katrina, which Katrina just changed everything, right? Katrina, the Corps of Engineers, the Assistant Secretary of the Army decided for Civil Works that he was going to use the HISDRA standards that we used around New Orleans to apply to the Morganza system, which changed the cost estimate by a lot, and they went through this whole process. And at the end of that process, like just a matter of months, at the end of a 3 or 4 year process, they decided if we don't extend this system, because initially Morganza was going to terminate at the South Lafourche levee system, if we don't extend this to the east, above the intracoastal, and at least up to Lockport, okay, and on the west from the lower Bayou de Large area up across the intracoastal to tie to the Bayou Black Ridge, then this system can be flanked. And so the modeling at the end showed that it could be flanked. And so it was really in 2014 that, all right, what's this Morganza system? Let's think about how this impacts us. And so they were showing on these maps this system that was going to come in and turn in. And it was really a quick alignment that they just sketched in. And it was quick because ultimately near Lockport, they turned it towards the Bayou Lafourche Ridge to terminate it, to give it some independent utility.
Once they decided that this was going to be a building program and we were no longer going to wait for the federal government to come in and build Morganza, which was probably one of the wisest decisions ever made in Terrebonne Parish. And I credit that to the board at the levee district and Tony and Gordy for really propping that and moving that forward. But once it became a building program, they knew they needed an engineer in place. And so around late 2008 is when I started to assume the role that, would be responsible for the design and construction of what they wanted to do, which was an interim system at that point. They wanted to get something to 10 feet all the way across the parish. So I was at T. Baker Smith. I was called into the office and said, "You've been nominated. This is your gig." And so, that's when I started. I had worked for years on separate parts of Morganza. We had done J1, and we had done a lot of, like borrow pit acquisition and things like that, and helped with the study of Morganza. But it was in late 2008 that I started as program manager.
Edison Schwest Offshore is more than a fleet. We're an interconnected network of vessels, logistics hubs, and a fast-growing workforce of over 19,000 dedicated professionals across the globe. From the United States to Brazil and the Middle East to Southeast Asia, Schwest provides cutting-edge solutions to a worldwide community. And in the face of evolving demands across the industry, we are committed to operating as the best in the world.
In a world where you can choose to be anything, who do you choose to be? At Nicholls State University, with over 70 distinct degree programs, we believe our students can be anything. Be an artist, a chef, a journalist, an educator, a lifesaver. But no matter what you choose to be a colonel. Be more at Nicholls State University.
When it comes to marine towing, Crosby Tugs has over 40 years of experience. We have the know-how to safely assist ships into and out of their berths, escort oil tankers quickly and safely, tow ships, respond to fuel spills, and work in extreme conditions. Founded in 1977 by Vinton and Kurt Crosby, we are one of the largest privately owned marine transportation businesses in the industry. If it's on the water, let Crosby be your transporter.
At GIS, putting people first has always been our thing. As we always say, our people are our most important assets. With over 20 office locations, we deliver innovative solutions across 4 key markets: energy, industrial, infrastructure, and power. Our 4 main service groups house over 20 service capabilities, supporting projects from start to finish. We're proud of our legacy and even more excited about what's ahead.
Welcome to Bollinger Shipyards. For nearly a century, our family of skilled shipbuilders has driven innovation and excellence, creating some of the world's most advanced vessels. Today, we are at the forefront of our industry and redefining the future of naval warfare. At Bollinger, we turn challenges into opportunities and careers into legacies. Here, you're part of something bigger. Any yard can build a ship. We don't just build ships. Together, we're building the future.
Bollinger Shipyards isn't just building ships, it's building a legacy. From a small post-World War II shop to a national powerhouse, this family-run business is all about ingenuity, hard work, and Louisiana pride.
And today, Ben Bollinger shares the stories behind the success, the lessons from his grandfather, breaking into government contracts, and how Bollinger keeps pushing the region forward with creativity and grit.
You know, I go back to my grandfather. My grandfather wasn't a college-educated man. He graduated high school, was a machinist by trade. You know, he worked on the machines and ran lathes and drill presses, etc. Was working for a shipyard, not an owner, was working there. And, you know, Mr. Barker ended up passing away and left my grandfather a little bit of money back in the early 40s. And he didn't squander it. He invested in himself. That's when he bought, you know, some land on the banks of Bollinger Lafourche, where our office is now. They had a World War II auction going on, post-World War II auction going on in New Orleans, and he bought a lathe and a drill press, and that's how the business got started. And, you know, that you know, culture and work ethic is still in us today. You know, there's a whole bunch of sayings my grandpa, you know, used to talk about, and you know, sometimes he'd put his big arm around me. He was a big man too. He's 6'4" and wore a big hat and did stuff, but he'd put his arm around me and he'd say, "Hey Ben, if you have any problems, solve them." And a statement, you know, like that in today's time, I think is important. I try to tell my kids that. Don't always be looking for somebody to solve your problems. Sometimes you gotta figure out a way to do it. Get creative and you know, do it on your own. And that's something that takes work ethic and takes a lot of responsibility and risk that I think as it kind of inbred in us down here. So, yeah, work ethic is a big part of our family culture, but for that matter, I think the Cajun culture too is a big part, and that's why we have a lot of success.
Ben's story really shows how work ethic, creativity, and a little Cajun ingenuity can turn humble beginnings into a thriving business.
And that mindset doesn't just build ships, it builds confidence, leadership, and a legacy that lasts for generations.
And I think at the end of the day, if you're confident in the business that you're running and in the people that you're supporting, it's pretty easy not to be intimidated by something. I respect the positions of all of those people, like I mentioned, but at the same time, they put on their pants the same as we do every day. I'm confident in what we're doing, down here, that the importance of what we're doing, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of the government programs, but it's a responsibility that we have as a business, to build and repair and do all of these great things, and I think it's awesome to show it off. So when we have the opportunity to brag a little bit about, what our family of, employees is doing down here, I think it's easy because we're proud type people. I think at the same token, we're all very humble down here. It's not like we're braggadocious in that degree, but we are proud of what we do, and to get a chance to show them some Cajun ingenuity is exciting. And on the political side, I was always a little skeptical on that, why we got to do this stuff. And I remember my grandpa teaching us that lesson early, is that, if we're not talking to the person and being in their ear and being a voice of reason, then somebody else will be. So why not us? And I think that bodes well for the success that we've had politically. At first, I thought it was kind of all for the fun of it. You go to Washington Mardi Gras, you're doing conventions and all of these different things. But at the end of the day, getting the message out about what we're doing down here in South Louisiana, it's important for us to be doing that, not just at a state level, but at a national level as well.
Ben's confidence in his team and their work shows how leadership and pride in what you do can turn challenges into opportunity.
And that mindset set the stage for Bollinger Shipyards to take bold steps, even in tough times, changing the future of the company and the region.
The point in time of the early 80s, oil and gas was terrible. And we were down to well under 50 employees at that time at the shipyard. The family hadn't taken, a payroll in years. And it was some scary times. I mean, this whole region was taking a beating back in the 80s with the oil and gas market. And I'll tell a little story about Boise. He wanted to bid on that government contract, and he went to my grandpa and talked about it. My grandpa said, "No way we bidding on that contract. We're not going to work for the federal government. It's going to make us fat and inefficient and lazy and have too much overhead." And part of that was right. Working for the government is different, but Boise ended up going behind my grandpa's back and bid on it. We lost the bid, and Boise protested it. We didn't have any money back then either, so we had to hire these Washington attorneys to represent us, and we won the protest. And that was the catalyst for us getting into the government contracting.
Hello everyone from Bollinger Shipyard here in Lockport, Louisiana, where the Vice President of the United States, George Bush, just addressed a few hundred people concerning the Navy contracts.
And that was the beginning of something great for us as far as getting into the government contracting world. But yeah, with that, we had Vice President Bush come in, which was awesome. The Secretary of Transportation back then was Elizabeth Dole. She came in. It was pretty cool as a 9-10-year-old kid that was getting to watch all these Coast Guard helicopters land in your backyard and have the Vice President get out of the helicopter and come into our home. And as you mentioned, they had Navy SEALs swimming the bayou and looking in the cane fields and doing all of that. But it was a special time, not only for Bollinger and for our family, but as you mentioned, for our area. And it did offer a time of excitement, I think, in a time that was a little depressed back then, and it offered some optimism. And from a sales standpoint, it's always good to get your message out, but that was really a pivotal point in our company's time, for sure. Welcome to Bollinger Shipyards. For nearly a century, our family of skilled shipbuilders has driven innovation and excellence, creating some of the world's most advanced vessels. Today, we are at the forefront of our industry and redefining the future of naval warfare. At Bollinger, we turn challenges into opportunities and careers into legacies. Here, you're part of something bigger. Any yard can build a ship. We don't just build ships. Together, we're building the future.
When it comes to marine towing, Crosby Tugs has over 40 years of experience. We have the know-how to safely assist ships into and out of their berths, escort oil tankers quickly and safely, tow ships, respond to fuel spills, and work in extreme conditions. Founded in 1977 by Vinton and Kurt Crosby, we are one of the largest privately owned marine transportation businesses in the industry. If it's on the water, let Crosby be your transporter.
Sea Level Construction is a heavy civil contractor that provides turnkey services for the industrial and marine industries. From building large-scale infrastructure to installing the foundation for expansion projects, Sea Level and its family of companies offer a wide range of capabilities including driven piles, drill deep foundations, structural fabrication, structural concrete, marine construction, barge maintenance and repair, site work development, heavy equipment repair services, and electrical services. Call Sea Level Construction to set the foundations for your next big project.
Edison Schwest Offshore is more than a fleet. We're an interconnected network of vessels, logistics hubs, and a fast-growing workforce of over 19,000 dedicated professionals across the globe. From the United States to Brazil and the Middle East to Southeast Asia, Schwest provides cutting-edge solutions to a worldwide community. And in the face of evolving demands across the industry, we are committed to operating as the best in the world.
At GIS, putting people first has always been our thing. As we always say, our people are our most important assets. With over 20 office locations, we deliver innovative solutions across 4 key markets: energy, industrial, infrastructure, and power. Our 4 main service groups house over 20 service capabilities, supporting projects from start to finish. We're proud of our legacy and even more excited about what's ahead.
The Morganza system is all about building a stronger, more resilient coast for Lafourche and Terrebonne.
Exactly, Martin. And Mark Prejean and Corey Keefe show us how planning today is setting up a safe, more sustainable future for generations to come.
You know, for far too often we feel like, you know, we've been reactive in a lot of cases in our coastal protection and those type of things. You know, and we've been able to come up with billions of dollars after the fact, right? Here, you know, working with the state, the federal government, CPRA, you know, we're pushing a lot more proactivity into it, where we can do this stuff like you mentioned now versus, you know, 30 more years down the road after we've had another 10 or 12 storms. And, you know, by making our coastline more resilient, I think that'll help us in other areas, such as increasing insurance rates and all of those things that make it tough for people to move down to this area and be able to afford it, right? So I think by doing this stuff now, it's helping us set up for a more sustainable future.
And this Morganza system benefits Lafourche and Terrebonne, okay? So you talk about funding, the levee districts along the coast, when they were formed, were afforded a constitutional millage automatically when they were formed, except for St. Mary's. St. Mary's didn't have a constitutional millage because they were formed after Hurricane Katrina, and that's when they had they changed the constitution to allow for constitutional millages. And so St. Mary's voted there in, and there's some other levee districts in the coastal zone that did not pass millages, so they don't have funding. We also have local voted in millages. And for Lafourche and Terrebonne anyway, we do. And we also have voted in sales tax. So we have several different sources of funding. The Terrebonne levee district actually gets help from the parish as well, because the parish passed a tax that goes for flood protection and drainage and things of that nature. And that's like a big pool that they use.
So the takeaway from Mark Prejean and Corey Keefe: It's all about being proactive, building resilience now, and setting up a sustainable future for Lafourche and Terrebonne.
Exactly, Martin. And coming up next, Mitch Marmande and Tony Alford take us even deeper, showing just how the Morganza levee system actually works and why it's so unique.
I would say I get general with this because people understand general more than specific, but it's nearly 100 miles of levees that connect Gibson to Lockport. So basically, you're connecting St. Mary, Terrebonne to St. Mary on one end and Lafourche on the other end. That alignment has changed some over time. It's been added to it over time since when I began. And we have about 25 floodgates and one lock complex in that. So pretty much every stream, canal, or bayou has a floodgate in it, and we have a lot of them. That's what makes Morganza unique, right? I mean, most systems, even our neighbors in Lafourche, there's a floodgate on the top and a floodgate on the bottom, right? I mean, that's pretty simple. Morganza is the opposite of that. I mean, we cross a lot of water features on the way for that connection. And so that's basically it. It's a system of levees and floodgates to provide protection to Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish. And people always thought it was just a Terrebonne issue, but it's not. I mean, it's really significant protection for North Lafourche, right? Not South Lafourche. South Lafourche has a system. But everything above the Intercoastal Canal is really protected by Morganza, probably more so than any of the little, drainage levees and ring levees that they have inside the North Lafourche system. So that's what it is. I mean, it's a 100-mile levee system of of levees and floodgates, really, and that's it. And its purpose, we say it's a hurricane risk reduction project, but I think it's the ability to manage water. Now that we have the lock complex, we can deal with water, so we can deal with drainage a little bit better. We can try to freshen up areas that are salty in nature by forcing fresh water somewhere. So the purpose is that hurricane risk reduction system, but the benefits can be environmental and functional for navigation and all the things that we need to do in commerce that we need to have here in Terrebonne.
The Corps of Engineers, remember, at one point wanted to put the levee on the intercoastal, and just kind of almost writing off the east side of town for the most part, and everything comes with that. If you got 5 bayous there, you got different ideologies and different thinking on those bayous, right? You got different people on each bayou. In Lafourche, like you said, everybody was sort of, from the same mix, and it was easier to sell things, I found, over the years. To get everybody to agree in Terrebonne was an act of Congress, literally, right? and so that was always, there were anti-levies, just let it come in and go out. And there was a lot of different ideas on what should happen or not happen, And so you had to pull all that together and just decide, we're going to do this. You're under a lot of scrutiny, but at the same time, you knew you had to do something to save this parish. And we've had a lot of great things happen. We're taking that now to a state level, and we've got some unreal things going on at a state level. We always talked about, we're going to build Morganza. Okay, that's our line in the sand, right? But also what we have to do with that, we have to have marsh restoration of sort, and we have to save the barrier islands in the process.
Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Louisiana and Beyond. It's incredible to see just how far the Morganza to the Gulf project has come.
And next week, we'll take you even deeper inside the work still to be done and what it means for families, businesses, and the future of our coast.
That's all coming up in part 2, right here on Louisiana and Beyond. We'll see you then.
Louisiana and Beyond has been brought to you in part by Edison Schwest Offshore, Bollinger Shipyards, Crosby Tugs LLC, Grand Isle Shipyard, Nicholls State University, and Sea Level Construction.